Hey guys, and welcome back to another YouTube video. In this video, I'll be going through why, in my personal belief, that going ultra pod, or at least enough podish, isn't actually the way to play the game. And it's it can be, but it's ultimately too much of a risk that if you do it too much and it doesn't pay off, you're pretty much screwed if you don't have a get out of jail sort of plan. And just going through, I guess, some of the top popular picks and why I don't think they're good options at the moment, especially the sort of pods, I guess, not the popular picks, but I guess the top pods and some of that I've been floating around in the community, etc., and why I don't think they're as good of an option, etc. But before we get into this video, remember to like and subscribe, turn the notification bell on so you know when I upload, and let's get into the video. So if we go here and we go and we make this just fractionally bigger, and then we just go, let's just start with the defenders and go average, well, we can go by, not team selected by, I guess, team selected by, maybe do this, and then just go 900k plus. You got Sicily 21%. We've just seen in the Hawthorn practice match, even though he's 21%, I just wanted to note that in the Hawthorn practice match, Blank went down as well as some other, as well as CJ and some other guys. So we may actually see some trouble with Sicily having the accountability. So I expect that 21.03 to drop, but that was just a side note. And here is where I sort of lay with guys like going for anyone under about 5%. I feel like it's guys that it's almost too risky to go for, and you may as well jump on you may as well start a Shizel or a Wanganeen Malira because you're sort of safe-ish with the crowd of 11% and 14% because they're highly owned that it doesn't hurt you as much if they do go like a 60 or a 50 or whatever. And then you can easily just jump ship to a lot of the guys in the same price range. And that's why going like a Jake Lloyd or a Mitch Duncan or a Jaden Short at the moment, and this is why we say watch ownerships, they can be it's dangerous to do that because if they go wrong, he may jump. Jaden Short's currently 835. He may have if he has a bad round zero, I think a lot of people will jump off of him. But say a Dan Houston at 2%, say he has a 50 or whatever in round one, against West Coast, does have a popular matchup, so I don't think this is probably actually the one. Let's go to another one. Luke Ryan, say he goes Brisbane Lions, tough matchup, say a break even of 99, say he goes a 50. He's going to decrease most likely, I would say, let me just quickly work this out. 50 times that, he's most likely going to go down, I would think 35, 34, 33k, somewhere around there, down to sort of that 860 range, have a stuffed break even of around about 130, and that would pretty much mean that in the course of 2 weeks, he's going to go down towards Wanganeen Malira's price. So obviously you can hold him, but if you're in the 2% that currently have him, it would be very dangerous at the moment. But obviously if that grows towards that 10%, because we see the Heath Chapman has gone down, etc., that he could grow, and then it becomes a safer option in case he fails because you're with a lot of the crowd. And the same thing, I don't think it will hurt as much for a lot of these other defenders because a lot of them, other than Duggan and Houston and Ryan, have that, and Duncan have that early buy. In Lloyd, Short, Whitfield, Newman have all got the early buy because they play in round zero, where you get a look in at their score and sort of how they're going to be priced almost effectively at the start of at the start of the game. You can look through all these other ones, like no one's really going to be going anyone here really. I don't really see any guys here in the 700k range that are usable. And then you got in the 600k range, I just want to see Elliot Yeo. And this is why I think Elliot Yeo is actually an underrated pick, is because you've got coverage in 13.99% of the people owning him. He's only going to go up if he gets through preseason more and more in that midfield role. So I think it's less of a dangerous pick, especially being best 18, because if he gets a 0 or a 10 or a 20 or something like that, he just doesn't get counted in your score, and then you can ship him off. Obviously would drop a little bit, but if he gets through the first 6 rounds, he could easily be 800k or something like that. So I don't think he's as dangerous a pick, and as along the lines of what I'm trying to say here, in that once they get over that 10% barrier, at least in my mind, they become a lot safer of a pick if they have injury concerns and stuff like that. And with these guys, we're not hoping that if Elliot Yeo somehow manages the whole season as a full-time midfielder, no injuries, touch on wood, he's going to be a top 6 defender. But all we need from him realistically is get through 6 weeks, because then we get sort of a general idea of who's going to be up there. And if I quickly just go back to something I was working out overnight here with in a very basic manner with Nick Dacos, I believe it is. No, that's the wrong Excel doc. Let me just quickly grab it up here. Would be this one here, and then go like that, like this, and like that. And then we should be able to just jump over him. I was trying to work out with Nick Dacos what his price would generally be after 8 games. And this is what he averaged against each opponent that he was coming up against in around in 2023. Other than this Hawks game where I just assigned an 80, because I generally think that is roughly the price he's going to be at. And you sort of see this is what he gets himself to around that round. This will be what his price is at the start of round 8, and this is what his prices will be at the start of round 9 with those respective scores. So he holds basic price if we give him these basic parameters. And then if we go something like, you'll see here how it generally affects it. And this is so basic, but if we do something like this, you'll see his average jumps up to 113 through the first little bit. And you see here that he ends up being around that 1 million. So unless this tag basically doesn't eventuate of a 120 or something, 120 threshold, he's basically going to be around the same price. And this isn't even factoring in the magic number decreasing, which is probably going to make it even more difficult to hold the price over time. So I just have a feeling that he is generally going to, and this is so basic that it's probably wrong, but this was my basic tracking of what Nick Dacos would do. And so if Elliot Yeo sort of gives us 6 good rounds of play, and we get a Nick Dacos having a struggle in, I believe it was 107 here. If we get Nick Dacos struggling and we get Elliot Yeo having 6 good rounds, he alongside like a Dan Curtin or something like that would have to cover roughly, what is it here? You can see here, roughly 327k. And this is why I think that Elliot Yeo is a safer pick rather than what other people are saying it is. Because if he averages 100, I suspect after 6 or so rounds, given that this is the price at the start of round 7, that Nick Dacos will be roughly 960 to 980k, I think. And that'll put Elliot Yeo and a rookie needing to catch 330k, and Dan Curtin's already got 80k saved there. Alongside Elliot Yeo, if he averages 100, I suspect will be 800k. And then that's a further only potentially 160, 150 or so for Dan Curtin, or potentially someone like you're done with Jordan Sweet at that point, or a Toby Conway, and then you just ship them off, and that's the job done out of that. And then you can get Nick Dacos, and then you can just ride, because Nick Dacos' fixture starts to really open up a little bit. But that is basically what I'm talking about here, is that these guys are Elliot Yeo and these safer sort of 12, 13, 14% guys that are in the midfield. I mean, Nick Martin as well is probably a dangerous pick at the moment, but it looks like he is going to rise day on day. Newcomb, sort of the same thing. He's going to rise a little bit now with the Hawthorn injuries, I think, to be a safer pick towards that 10% range. You got Sam Walsh, a safe pick at sort of at 24%, but he's dropping, so I'll need to probably find a solution there. Steele as well, he's a sort of safe-ish pick at 15%. Savage Uniac 12%, so he covers that line. And then you've got Zach Butters at 30. I think Max Gorner's 35 as well. 31. Brody Grundy 50. Flanders as well, 37%, so he's safe. Taylor Adams is at 28%, so he's safe at the moment. Nat Fyfe, another dangerous one, he's at 20%. And he is very similar to the likes of a Elliot Yeo, is just get through the first 6 weeks. And he potentially could be one that we look at to look at in terms of, is he going to actually survive, play that good role. But he's 20% owned, so he is a safe pick in case safer pick in case he goes down. But if he stays up at 491k, he could easily average 75 and be basically a plus 20 or so, I think it is, at 491k. With the 930 magic number. Let me just quickly figure that out for you guys. He is currently priced at 54, so if he goes 75, then he will be plus, you can see 54 right there actually. He will be plus 21, which will be a good cash gen there each week. It will be 17 to 30k each and every week, and then for the first 6 rounds, that's roughly 200 or so. It would probably be about 150 to 200k price rise, and then you just jump on the top 6 forwards that have emerged after round 6. So that's why I think he's safer. James Jordan, he should get a spot in the best. He's best 22. He's not going to be best 23, and don't think he'll be vested. I think the vest will go sadly to Matty Roberts, and that's why I wouldn't be. I'd be waiting on his selection. But James Jordan, 14%. I think he is safe as well as a pick. McRae, absolutely tore it up in the practice game yesterday for Collingwood. 21% owned, he'll be best 22 in my opinion. And then you got Harley Reid as safe as houses there. Sean Manor, he's also pretty safe at 44%, but we'll see if he even gets selected, as that could tank in the on the Thursday night or whatever. Caleb Windsor, 8%. He's going to go up and up as a team, as sort of best 23s get named for that round 0. And he should be playing, in my opinion, from what we've heard from, I think, Track as well as some other teammates. And then Darcy Jones, a little bit. I think you can be a little bit more outlandish on the bench as well. You don't need to necessarily pick the high percentage rookies if we go down to 200k. It's more so just the mid prices and the guys on field that you're more worried about with team selection. If we go to not only defenders, but all positions, 200 to 299k, I'm not as worried about Zane Dersma as I was originally, just because 44% owned. I do think he will go down after they play the practice matches and he doesn't score as well. 291k, I think it's a lot for the bench for a guy who's going to probably score 45 a week. So I'm not too worried about him. Toby Pink, high ownership. Heath, high ownership. Nick Watson, I think, is all right, but I think similar to Zane Dersma as well. So I'm not too worried about these guys with high ownership. Clay Hall just needs to get named. Billy Wilson, I think, is just one that is, I guess, just being selected because he's high ownership by other people at the moment. And that's why I'm not too worried about Bird Gill as well, who was sort of just a placeholder. But you got I'm just talking about this in general. You got Marty Hore here, 12% owned for a guy on field. I think it's totally fine at the moment, especially if he gets named. I don't know why. I think they gave him a 2-year deal. I don't know why they give him a 2-year deal if it is... let's look this up. Marty Hore contract. Let's see. SSP, so it must be just a 1-year deal here. And yeah, so let's just see. Yes, so I'm guessing it's just a 1-year deal for Hore. That's 2020. I need sort of the latest. Yeah, so yeah, that's fine. So yeah, Hall, one year deal, but I think it will play, honestly, given their backline and their troubles. And if he doesn't play, then we just go to someone else, to be honest with you. But at 12%, if he does fail, then it's a simple fix. And also we get round 0, look at him, to be honest, as well. So it should be fine anyway. There's back out options, but at 12%, he is absolutely fine to be there. And he's sort of a safe-ish pick. Nick Caulfield at 17%, very safe pick. Even like, I think Stewart's 20%. Yeah, he's very safe. And Hayden Young's 30-odd%, 35%. So he's safe. So a lot of my selections here you can see are very, very safe. Jai Clark, 30%. We'll need to see him actually get a game, to be honest. But 30%, very, very safe, even on the bench. But yeah, there's a lot of, if we just go to midfield, I think you'll see in the 700k range, there's a lot of guys here that are just a little bit too low percentage almost for me to select. Just going through here, and why is this ultra big now? There we go. Just looking through here, there's no one here really at all that I'm looking at that could be that should be selected. Like people that have Paddy Cripps, I think that's too bold to go at 2.5%. Like, yes, you can have one or two, and I did have at one point when I was thinking of doing this video, I think it was Cam McKenzie, who's actually now bolted, I think, a little bit, just because of the injuries, I believe. I think he's bolted a little bit, 1.38%. I think he will go up after the practice game filters out and people sort of adjust their team slightly. So I think he'll go up, but do I think he's a safe pick? I don't think he is, but I do think if you have only, say, I have currently Nick Martin and Newman as two guys that are who I think generally will go up in ownership. I think Nick Martin will end up around that 10 to 12, and I think Newman will end up around that 10 to 12. But outside of that, do I really have a really outlandish pick? I don't think I generally do. So those people that are going for those 0.1 to 0.5, like someone was mentioning Treloar at the moment, and I believe he's 0.5% ownership, 0.42% ownership. That is just too outlandish. And the problem with these guys that I don't think I've mentioned is it's basically a lose-lose for you guys. If these guys go well, you gain about 100 points. And there is just so much risk with these guys, because I say you gain 100 points because you're going to gain 100 points from them from a lot of the competition. If they go, say, 120, 120, a lot of people will just dump their 80 guy or whatever to Treloar. If he goes 120, 120, that's about 80 points. If not, say they get another week, you get another week out of Treloar going 120, then that's 120 points. So on average, you're probably going to get 100 points before the competition realizes after 3 or so weeks. So you get 120 points on people, but then they just jump on Treloar and your gain is basically minimized with him per se. So I don't think these guys are, and that is the best case scenario. Worst case scenario is he gets injured on say 20, 30, 40, and no one else has him. So you're basically one of the only people in the comp that takes the blow out of a Treloar or something like that. That's why going vanilla is one of the easiest ways to go to start. Yes, you can have some picks, but you've also got to have the back out option. Obviously, Treloar at 950k is going to have a back out option, whereas guys like guys in that 400k range, if we go to 400k or something, or 500k, it is a lot harder to find. And this is my problem with Jerry at the moment. If we go to 500k rucks, Sherry right here, 580k, yes, at 15%, he's a lot safer. I do think that'll probably hold. But if you look at all these ruckmen here, you will see if Sherry gets injured, there is no one to go to, which is the problem with Sherry. If the likes of a Gorn or a Grundy get injured, then you can go down to a Sherry or go up, whereas Sherry going down would be getting injured or suspended. That would basically mean you're going to have to take, it would basically, for me, if I had him instead of, say, a Brodie Grundy and had the same exact cash, had not much cash, I have 46k, I'd have to basically go nuke him down to a mid-pricer like a Wardlaw maybe, or maybe even just go down to a rookie just to get him up to a Marshall or something like that, or Grundy itself. Maybe if you have Grundy and Cherry, so maybe Gorn in this exact same scenario, it would be tough to maybe have to go nuke him down to a Wardlaw or something, and then go up to the likes of up to Max Gorn, and that really makes you if you can't do the trade in one and you have to do a double trade, it makes you fall behind in rotating your rookies around and stuff like that. So that's why I don't necessarily like the Sherry selection as much, is you can't focus on rotating your rookies around as much. And so yeah, that's the general premise of this video, is just watch out for your ultra pods, and I would be staying clear of guys that are sort of under that at least 1%, and definitely try and limit the guys that you have under 10% ownership, because if you go down, you're the only one going down rather than the whole comp going down. If Butters goes down, pretty much half the comp, well, a third of the comp is going to go down with you, so it's not as bad. If Grundy goes down, pretty much half the comp is going down as well. And a lot of these guys, especially like Butters and stuff like that, you'll find that a lot of them have at least if we were to do this with how Supercoach does it, a lot of you'll see the top tier guys, like when we get into the actual season, like top 1 for top 5% of coaches, you'll see I think a lot higher ownership in these in a lot of these guys. So it starts to become easier to hold these guys, just because a lot of the comp is going to have them in your sort of specific ranges, etc. At least that's what I found with BBL Supercoach. With a lot of the top tier guys, is their score didn't matter and their ownership didn't matter, because their score didn't matter, etc. And if they got injured, it didn't really matter, because they were so highly owned that it basically become null and void, except for captaincy scores. If you had them as captaincy, it was hit or miss. Other than that, it really didn't matter with some of these guys. So yeah, I'm sort of applying that same principle here, is just stay away from the pods early. Pods generally only last about 2 or 3 weeks. So if you do hit on one, you're going to get 2 or 3 weeks, which is about 100 points. But if you miss on one of them, you're basically burning 80 points. And if you have too many of them, you're not going to hit on, I don't even think it will be a 50% hit rate for those people that have them. And so I think there's just going to be a net loss for you guys if you do end up picking them. I know I've just blabbered on for 20 odd minutes about this, but yeah, I would just be trying to go vanilla early, and then you can go a little bit less vanilla on the bench, at least in, like I've got Virgil, who's just a placeholder. Honestly, these guys are actually pretty vanilla at the moment, except for Windsor and Darcy Jones, because I've heard some good things about them. But honestly, it will just come down to who gets selected in round 1 or round 0 for the bench anyway. But yeah, just going vanilla is a lot easier, or at least sets you up, in my opinion, in a better spot than going ultra pods. So that's the reasoning of this video that I've spent 20 odd minutes on, so probably going a little bit longer, but anyway, so the next video that I have planned is another player comparison. I just need to sort of figure out who it's going to be. It may be a more of a rookie one, but I'll need to figure that out anyway. More of a sort of mid-prices comparison, but we'll figure that out and I'll get that out to you guys anyway. But that is the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.